Welcome to channel Today in History. In today's video we will talk about the day, August 20th, 1968, invasion of Czechoslovakia by Soviet troops. Since the beginning of the 1960s, some important members of the Czech Communist Party, including the Slovakian Alexander Dubcek, sought to promote the necessary reforms. However, the most immobilized sectors, led by the General Secretary of the party, Antonín Novotný, imposed themselves, frustrating any reform initiative. However, the reformist stance was extended to various social sectors, especially intellectual groups, among which the dramatist Václav Havel was already standing out. At the Fourth Czechoslovak Writers' Congress, held in 1967, various personalities of the Czechoslovak intelligentsia openly protested against the party's dictatorial practices. Novotny's repressive reaction precipitated the change. Soviet leader Brezhnev did not openly support him, and in January 1968 a new Communist Party leadership came to power, Alexander Dubcek. Dubcek was the first Slovak to come to power in Prague. In addition to favoring the recognition of Slovak identity, the government promoted a series of democratic measures that were supported by the media, leading to the lifting of censorship on March 5. Thus began the Prague Spring. In April, the Central Committee of the Communist Party approved the program of action, which summarized the principles on which the socialism with a human face advocated by Dubcek and his team should be based. Alongside a relative economic liberalization, in the political field a broad reformist program was presented: free creation of parties as long as they accepted the socialist model, national equality between Czechs and Slovaks, release of political prisoners and social right to strike, independent unions and religious freedom. In foreign policy, ties with the Soviet Union and the Warsaw Pact were maintained, and the only novelty was the recognition of the State of Israel. The new environment of freedom has awakened Czechoslovak society. Associations, newspapers, etc., have flourished. A feeling of euphoria spread across the country. However, the Prague Spring was viewed with apprehension in Moscow. Brezhnev, on a visit to Prague in February 1968, forced Dubcek to change his speech and, in May, while Warsaw Pact military maneuvers were being carried out in the country, a first invasion plan was sketched out. The Kremlin tried to get Dubcek himself and his collaborators to slow down the reform process, and in July 1968 the leaders of the Warsaw Pact members sent a collective message to the Czechoslovak Party. Dubcek refused to accept the letter and traveled to Moscow. In August 1968, it went a step further and new party statutes were published, which included references that the Kremlin leaders found unacceptable. On August 20th, a force twice the size used in Hungary in 1956 invaded Czechoslovakia. Protests in city streets failed to make Warsaw Pact troops withdraw. There followed a few weeks of indefiniteness, in which the invaders failed to split the Czechoslovak leadership. Finally, several leaders led by Husak and Svoboda chose to adapt to the normalization imposed by arms, and, in April 1969, Husak replaced Dubcek at the head of the party. Although this repression cannot be compared to that of Hungary in 1956, there was a great purge in the Communist Party. More than 20% of the militants were expelled. Did you like the video? In the description you will find the blog link with the full article. Give an incentive by subscribing to the channel, liking, commenting and sharing with your friends. Hugs. Until the next.